Hello and welcome to another screencast from screencastworld.com. In this tutorial, I'll walk you through how you can verify your web server has the requirements needed to run Magento Commerce. The procedure is the same whether you do this on a local development system or your web server. Before you begin installing Magento, it's important that your web server meets certain requirements. The requirements can be found on the Magento website under Resource System Requirements menu. Let me show you that quickly. So if we go to magentocommerce.com, on the main page we'll see their menus, and under Resources, right down at the very bottom, we've got System Requirements. And this lists all the requirements that your web server, both development and public, will need. I won't go through all of them, but I will highlight three important ones. Firstly, Magento is only supported on the Linux and Unix based operating systems. Although you can use a Windows host for development purposes, a Linux or Unix server for production is always best. Secondly, scrolling down a little bit, we have the memory limit no less than 256 megabytes, preferably 512. Magento can be resource hungry, especially on stores with lots of products or large numbers of visitors, so getting your web host solution right from the start is important. For those on a shared hosting platform, this requirement is typically more than your hosting provider will allow. Don't despair though, there are performance tuning tweaks we can apply to reduce the requirements in CPU and memory, thus making your website run quite happily. And finally, down the bottom here we have SSL certificates. Now you're going to require an SSL certificate for your live website. This will allow you to secure your admin area, customer logins and payment details from your customers. There's an article on screencastworld.com which discusses SSL in detail. The article walks you through the difference between the SSL certificate types, deciding which one's right for you, where to buy your SSL, and how to install it. This is part of the Magento 101 series of articles on screencastworld.com. The direct link is available in the show notes. Now there's a couple of ways we can actually verify that your server meets the requirements. The first method is to create a PHP info script which shows you how your Apache and PHP are configured, and we can marry that up with the requirements we see on the Magento website. So I've opened up a terminal window, and in my root directory from my web server, I'm just going to edit a file called phpinfo.php. Now in this file, it only needs one line. So we open up the PHP tags, specify that we want to look at the PHP info, and close the PHP tags. Save and quit. Now if we navigate over to the file that we've just created, so the intention is that we look for the requirements for Magento in this list. It's a case of flipping between the Magento system requirements page and the PHP info. So let's say we want to look for mcrypt. We'd go back to our PHP info file, do Control F or / in Firefox, and look for mcrypt. Now the first hit you'll see is just the configuration command, so you want to press F3 or skip down until you find the mcrypt section. Here we can see that mcrypt is enabled, and we can verify the version, supported ciphers and supported modes. So this is what you're looking for both mcrypt and the other modules. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see memcache, MySQL, MySQLi, OpenSSL. So it's a simple case of verifying that your web server has the necessary modules enabled to support Magento. Now to make the process easier and slightly less tedious, thankfully there's already a script called magento-check.php which you can get from the Magento website. So I'll just show you that process as well. So in our search box at the top right hand side, we type in magento-check and hit return. You should get this knowledge base article back as a first hit, entitled How Do I Know If My Server is Compatible with Magento? It's a fairly short article. The first link is to a file, and we're going to open this up, save the file, now back at our terminal window we can uncompress that file, we do a quick listing we can see that we have this magento-check.php. Now this just needs to be copied into the web root. Now if we go back to our web browser, we open up a new tab, navigate to that file, now if you get something like this that appears to be garbage on the screen, there's two reasons for this. First reason is the PHP tag, and the second reason is because it's a DOS-based format and I'm running on a Unix-based platform. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to edit that file. Now if we use VI, which I'm using here, we can see the caret M's on the end of the line. This is because it's a DOS-based format rather than a Unix-based. So we can quickly get rid of those. Done. And the second issue is the PHP tags. It opens with a less than question mark, which is fine, but on my installation I've got my PHP tags set up so that it requires the PHP after the question mark. So having made those two minor changes, if I now go back to my Magento check page, shift reload, it now gives a much cleaner output. And we can see here that my server meets the Magento requirements. If yours says that any of the extensions are missing, you'll need to correct those before you proceed. And that concludes this screencast. The next step is creating the MySQL database and the database user for the Magento installation. We'll cover that in the next screencast. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.